Welcome to Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast, we have the fallout from the huge weekend last weekend of NXT. WWE main roster. AEW had a show also. I know I'm not selling it really hard because basically nothing happened. That and a whole bunch more tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast.
Way to reel them in.
Hey, I feel like I can be honest with our listeners. They know. They know. Ditch that 9 to 5. It's time to feel alive. Hello, Mark. So welcome to the Banned from Ringside podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bill Vagey, a.k.a. jobbing out to Peter to pay Paul. And out there in Edwardsville, Illinois, we have Two Beer. Zach Pullman. What's going on, Two Beer?
Just monkey business on a sunny afternoon.
And sitting across from me in my South City basement, the last podcast we're ever going to do from this residence.
Man, you had to get all sentimental on the motherfucker.
I was trying to get there, and my daughter has a play date, so
Yeah.
that kid is here, and I'm outside drinking beer, smoking cigarettes. But my wife's going to be here in 5 minutes, so.
Good job, Dad. Way to keep
Sure,
it, hold
yeah,
it down.
I mean, that's not enough time to burn down the house or anything.
Oh shit! It's on me.
Yeah, it is on you.
I'm sorry. Allow us to bow our heads as we hope we don't burn down Zach's house and read from the latest edition of the Banned from Ringside podcast, volume 202, chapter 3, verse 14. And the good smart saith, hashtag boo the heels. It is all good, baby. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat. I'm just glad to be done with WrestleMania week, to be perfectly honest. It's good to get back on track. It was kind of hard to remember that Impact was on tonight versus Tuesday night, so I'm going over, to watch wrestling or whatever, and I'm like, wait a minute, Impact? Oh, shit, yeah, fuck. It's Thursday night.
Dude, I
Tuesday.
still forget to watch wrestling. Like, I forgot to watch wrestling last night, and even though it was Wednesday, it just seems like less of a big event because there's not two shows to watch. I just kind of forgot, and I watched it this morning.
I'll say it like this, and this is not even a knock against the thought process to it. Just for me personally, it is so much easier to have them on separate nights. I don't care which one moved where, but for me personally, it's just easier. It's easier to avoid one set of spoilers versus two set of spoilers.
Well, that's definitely true, and I think that, well, you know what? Let's save it for the pod. Like I said, we're coming at you from sunny South City, St.Louis. Just a few days ago, it was snowy South City, St. Louis, and now we're sitting out here. I mean, I got flip-flops on, so that's...
Oh, I got the grill loaded. I got the chimney loaded, charcoal. I'm on my third beer. It is fucking amazing out here. My daughter and I went on a nice walk earlier.
Unbelievable.
Oh, man. That's the Midwest, man.
Fucking Midwestern weather. Before we get too far
Midwest
into
West.
it... Before we get too far into it, Jason, why don't you tell us about F&B Eatery?
F&B Eatery on the corner of 3453 Southampton and Marquette, home of the best smash burger you've never heard of. So let's take care of that problem, shall we, boys and girls? I keep saying this all the time, so I'm going to just hammer this one more time. Follow them on social media. Their hours do change because the life has changed. The world has changed. So that way you can stay up to date. Because I know more times than not, it's a rash decision. You make the decision really quick. Oh, yeah, let's go eat this. Let's go eat that. So follow them on Facebook. Follow them on Instagram. Follow them on Twitter. All F&B Eatery. So that way you know the latest specials. You know when they're open, when they're closed. All that good shit. So that way you stay in touch. And that way you can keep your narrow ass out of trouble. F&B Eatery on the corner of 3453 Southampton Marquette. Tell them that Banned from Ringside sent you.
I love it when you told me I have a narrow ass, like I'm like you, like I'm a full 100 pounds bigger than you.
You ain't 100 pounds bigger than me.
Also, brought to you by Bill's Beard Company. This is the beard company that my wife has started that sells beard oils, beard balms, beard shampoos, bath bombs, shower bombs, shower steamers, all sorts of good stuff. We're still selling it at a pretty good pace. People are loving it. So if you're into that, a couple people hopped into my DMs recently last week. We will ship all over the world, free shipping if that's what you're into. It's a great gift. So let me know if you're into that. And without further ado, let's get into that 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
JCB, kick us off.
A little different this week because the wrestling week is different. We're going to start off with NXT this week. Kyle O'Reilly, opened the show up with a decent promo where then one Cameron Grimes comes out to interrupt the proceedings, so to speak. It was good to see that.
I'm sorry, that's Cool Kyle, not Kyle O'Reilly. That's Cool Kyle.
Okay, fair enough. I was going to say I was trying to bypass that, but yeah, Cool Kyle O'Reilly comes out to open the show. It was good to see that Adam Cole was not even on this show. That kind of sells the damage done to him in their unsanctioned match on NXT TakeOver. So that's always a good opening look. So from there, obviously, you have that match set up where Kyle O'Reilly and Cameron Grimes are going to meet in the main event. A little side note there on the Cameron Grimes storyline. Apparently, Ted DiBiase is going to be a part of this Cameron Grimes storyline. I know TBZ said this the other week. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago that he brought it up, and I kind of
TBZ or TMZ?
No, TBZ. He brought it up. He said TMZ. You ain't shit. He brought it up a couple weeks ago, and I didn't even really trip off of that. But apparently, Ted DiBiase, I guess for lack of a better word, undercut Cameron Grimes bid that he made. So now Ted DiBiase is on the Cameron Grimes radar, so to speak. So that should be interesting to see where that goes forward.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah, I think it's the natural progression of the former $1 Million Man versus the 2021 current $1 Million Man.
Whatever he is. He's great at it.
No, I just don't want it to be forced. And I think this is part of the biggest thing that I've taken away from NXT and Dynamite, for that matter, going to separate nights, is that now the storylines are starting to feel more natural and more organic versus, okay, AEW's doing this on this Wednesday night, so what are we going to do to counteract that? It just seems like it's more natural. Go ahead.
Can't argue with that. Zach, what did you think about this Kyle O'Reilly promo? Because, well, what did you think about it?
At first, I was not into it because, I mean, we've seen Kyle O'Reilly for a number of years, and this is a new Kyle O'Reilly. And, you know, if it is Kyle O'Reilly and it's not just like a gimmick that they're kind of forcing on him, if it's something that he wants to roll with, the only thing is it seems like recently Kyle O'Reilly's been positioned as a top guy. He's headlined pay-per-views. He's headlined like big weekly television. And this doesn't seem like a main event gimmick. But if it's Kyle O'Reilly turned up to 11, right, it could grow on me. But yeah, at first I was a little bit taken aback by it. But by the time, you know, Cameron Grimes came out and I heard "To the Moon," and then he took the punch. That kind of sold me on it, because I mean, Cameron Grimes is like the ultimate geek, and I love him. And I think this is, if Kyle's going to be not with Adam Cole, I think a great worker for him is Cameron Grimes. So like, I'm totally fine with that. But yeah, like I said, I was just kind of reticent to embrace Cool Kyle, but we'll see where it goes.
Are you just saying Cool Kyle? They never said that on the broadcast, did they? Okay. All right. Jason's shaking his head. I thought it was jarring. I thought he came out in the fedora. I was like,
there's an interesting
fedora?
move.
Yeah, I know. That is interesting. And then he kind of came off kind of heelish at the beginning, like he wasn't that sure of himself or something. And he was wearing the sunglasses. He goes, "Hey, can you guys bring the lights down?" And he's like, "Oh," and he acted like he forgot he was wearing sunglasses. It was just, it didn't seem very natural. Now, I do remember him in Ring of Honor kind of being a quirky character for a little while before Red Dragon, or maybe after Red Dragon. But I don't know. I didn't like the promo. I didn't like the character.
I'm willing to see where this goes, because
I am too.
This is his foray in singles for NXT. So it's going to be a work in progress. Ultimately, we're going to get back to Adam Cole, and I think that's the biggest thing. But right now, I'm willing to give it a pass. It's the first time around. It wasn't the worst that I've seen. It wasn't the best. It was somewhere in the gray, and I'd rather it be in the
Karrion Kross last week.
I agree.
I didn't think it was that bad either. I mean, the only thing I didn't like about that promo last week from Kross is that he gave flowers to Finn Balor, and as a heel, I just don't think you do that. You know, you run him down.
I'm not sure he's a heel.
Kyle O'Reilly, you know, they teased that before the Kyle O'Reilly main event against Cameron Grimes, where, you know, it was two ships passing in the night. If you make that matchup right now, to me, Kyle O'Reilly is the face.
Yes, I would agree with that. I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine any wrestler coming out in a fedora and being a babyface in 2021.
My lady.
It's not that bad. I mean, damn, you know, I'm not going to knock this man for his fashion sense.
What else happened, Jason?
The opening match was one LA Knight versus Dexter Loomis. Now, obviously, I've had a major problem with Dexter Loomis going back to the Velveteen Dream angle, but I will admit that I do like the fact that they're trying to cross Indy Hartwell with Dexter Loomis. LA Knight wins this match, which I think he kind of needed to win this match. All the hype, I think we said it last week, all the hype with him coming in, him being Eli Drake, and people really knowing who he was. I think that, I won't say they dropped the ball, but I think that there was maybe a misstep or two with the booking of LA Knight coming in to NXT. I just expected, personally, I'll speak for myself on this one, that he would come in and have some wins right away. The Bronson Reed loss, I don't necessarily have too much of a problem with that, because clearly they have plans for Bronson Reed, but it felt like LA Knight, for whatever reason, was not kicking on all cylinders, for a lack of a better term. But him winning this match, to me, at least starts to signal a little bit that they might be turning that tide the other way.
He needed to win for sure, unless they were going to try to tell a story about him just not being able to get over the hump, getting to NXT or something like that. If that was the story they were going with, I was actually thinking that, you know, that's a pretty good opponent for him in his, probably his third match or something. Dexter Loomis didn't go over clean, of course, because he's in love with Indy Hartwell, which, again, I like Dexter Loomis. I like what they're doing with this character. I'm sorry, man. I'm a pro wrestling fan. This is pro wrestling.
Okay, for me, dragging Indy Hartwell in, and they have that little moment where they're staring through the plexiglass, and then they start to walk over and she bites it. I'm sorry. That's when I was like, okay, now that's pro wrestling right there.
It?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was like, oh, hell yes. She got up and was like, oh, no, I'm good. Get over here, big boy.
Yeah, I know. She's like Frank Drebin all of a sudden. Zach, thoughts?
I'm still on the fence about Dexter Loomis. I actually leaned I'm not pro Dexter Loomis. I've given this spiel before, but he does look good in the ring, even with his weird stuff. He's a good wrestler, right? I don't necessarily like the gimmick, but you know, he's in this mix with the Way. This is like an ongoing storyline, so this is just another layer to that. So, you know, at least they're doing some like long-term storytelling, and this is a story that they're telling. So like, I am down with that, because a lot of times, and AEW is not innocent of this either, like a lot of times stuff gets picked up and then it doesn't get followed through. Now, I think AEW is a little better than NXT on following through, but sometimes like stuff happens. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say, if I'm collecting my thoughts here, NXT seems to happen in a vacuum. Like, each week seems to happen in a vacuum. I don't necessarily always know where they're going with next week, and the current week doesn't always apply to the previous week. Like Jason said earlier, I think that might change, where they're not just booking competitively, and they actually get back to booking their own show instead of booking against AEW. So I think this is all good signs for sure. But yeah, like, I laughed about it, and it's a little bit weird, but Johnny Gargano's in it, so what can I say?
Mark, that's what you could say.
I mean, I'm a mark for Johnny.
No, he's been better than expected as the baby or the chicken shit heel.
Almost said Johnny Soprano just because I'm looking forward to that Sopranos prequel movie that's coming out this year that I'm psyched about.
What the fuck is this happening?
It's coming out later this year on HBO. They're doing the movie. Gandolfini's son is playing young Tony.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Let's do this
I guess
shit.
It's time for me to watch The Sopranos.
Oh, my God.
Dude, yeah, you might want to go ahead and start. You got a lot to catch up on.
I'll watch it with you for the 15th time.
Yeah, right.
Jason, what's up next?
EO, well, I shouldn't say EO, but Raquel Gonzalez has a little promo where she and Dakota Kai are basically laying down the law on the rest of the NXT women's locker room. I'll be the first to admit it. I didn't see this one coming. I thought it would be, honestly, the other way around. I've been a big Dakota Kai fan since she had the heel turn on Tegan Knox back a feud takeovers ago. I don't even think we touched that on our do-overs just yet. But to me, that was a big sign for her character-wise to make this heel turn. And I thought at some point, especially pairing her with Raquel Gonzalez, I thought this would be the team where Dakota Kai would be the lead dog and Raquel would be the heavy. And clearly it's the opposite way around. I'm not sure what Dakota Kai's role is moving forward with Raquel Gonzalez, but Raquel Gonzalez comes out with a decent promo, basically, like I said, laying down the law to any and everybody, basically doing a little John Cena, if you want some, come get some. Not really mentioning any names, but to me, the biggest takeaway from this is that Io Shirai never didn't appear on Raw or SmackDown after the WrestleMania week. So for all intents and purposes, that to me leads me to think that Io stays for a little while longer. I'm not sure why that is. I don't think you necessarily need her for this roster, A, and B, more importantly, I don't necessarily think you need to have her lose to Raquel Gonzalez a second time to put her over. I think there's been enough leading to this point where Io was more than safe to go up to the main roster. If they didn't want to do it, so be it. But it was just a little weird to me that Io stayed on NXT when in a scenario I don't really think you need her to stay.
Yeah, but to me, I think it's obvious that the reason that she's staying is to put over Frankie Monet before she goes up. I mean, Frankie Monet came out and interrupted the sit-down with Beth Phoenix. The idea of having Valkyrie versus Io Shirai, two of the best women's wrestlers that we've seen in the last 5 or 10 years, to have them have a feud sounds pretty enticing to me, and they could rip off some fucking burners because they are both grimy, they're mean chicks, and I'm looking forward to that feud. And if she's got to stick around, Rhea Ripley, I guess Bianca Belair showed up the week after WrestleMania, or the night after WrestleMania last year, and that was she's never gone back. But I can see that the NXT women's roster is deep, very, very, very deep, especially when you add. Saray, is that how you say her name?
Yeah, that's how I'm pronouncing it.
Saray, and Zoe Stark's been looking good.
Toni Storm just came back this week. She attacked Zoe Stark after the Zoe Stark match. Who did she wrestle? I can't even think who she wrestled off the top of my head.
Saray,
thank you.
Saray, yeah. And they had a good match.
It was funny because that match, Saray is good. I've seen her in Japan. And this is her big debut, but I really felt like Zoe Stark shined just as much as Saray, because Saray sold a whole lot in this match. So I thought that was a very worthwhile use of television time to get both those women over.
I was going to say the exact same thing. I was tuned in when I was watching it today. I wasn't fucking around on my phone. I was like, well, let's see how this goes between these two. And it like Zach said, it was a well use of TV time, and it made both of them look good. It made Zoe Stark look really good in defeat.
Well, Zoe Stark has been looking good in any defeat that she's had. I didn't see the win against Toni Storm on the Takeover show or whatever. I'm sure she looked just as impressive. Obviously, she won, so I mean, that's double kudos in that scenario. But like I said, for me, in the Io Shirai loss, this loss against Saray, other losses in between, I honestly think that there's something getting ready to happen with Zoe Stark. It's just, who's going to be that catalyst to kind of, bump her up. We already had her cross paths with Raquel Gonzalez, and obviously she's the champ, so that would be like the obvious choice. But there's going to be somebody else out there that she can come across where their cachet is clearly higher than what Zoe Starks brings to the table, and then in a win like that would get her not only getting over, but she goes over on top of it. And that's what I think you need at some point, a big win for Zoe Stark to kind of put her on the map, so to speak. Okay, I'm done. Motherfucking shit. Speak in.
I mean, let me sit back down.
No, motherfucker. I mean, there's three of us here. God damn it, shit.
Yeah, but I mean,
sorry, I was smoking.
Yeah, so leave me out of this.
Smoking, I was pissing.
I mean, damn, I can filibuster, but Jesus, give me a hit.
Yeah, you did a whole show by yourself. I never listened to it, but I looked at it.
That was
it was
horrible.
like 2 hours long.
Yeah, fuck
They can do a
both.
2-hour show. You can't do one segment.
Shit, motherfucker. There's three of us. Yeah, I know, and you're one of us.
Fuck both of you.
Breezango versus Grizzle. I almost said guided by voices. What the fuck is wrong with me today? Something is fucking wrong with me today.
It's the last day in the house. Y'all jacked up. Well, the last broadcast of the house.
I slept through my alarm this morning.
Let's see. There you go.
I've been sober since last Saturday night. Went to bed last night at 9:45 and slept through my alarm today at 6:30.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Tired, man. Just tired.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
My wife's expecting. I'm
tired.
I'm tired.
There are hoops to jump.
Get used to being tired.
Well, that's because that's the reason that I slept all day today. So Breezango versus Grizzled Young Veterans. Zach, what you think?
This wasn't on my show, so I can't speak to it.
Then I'll jump in on it.
There's not a whole lot to say.
No, I like the opening segment where they came out as the I guess I'm not sure what you want to call them, but like the British soldiers or whatever.
They were like Canadian Mounties or something.
Yeah, but it's the ones where you can't talk to them or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the ones standing in front of the Buckingham Palace.
Thank you. Okay, so they came out to that or whatever. To me, it basically boils down to the fact that this was more of a bigger picture where they set up a six-man tag where you have Legado del Fantasma versus MSK, and I believe it's Kushida set for next week. I'm kind of waiting to see what they do with Grizzled Young Veterans for me at this point. That's the team that seems like they're almost bulletproof. Even in losses, they still come out looking just as good, maybe even better, depending on the opponent. I think the MSK loss did absolutely nothing to hurt them at all. To me, as far as I'm concerned, they both came out better than they did coming into that match. So that said, at some point, I think that Grizzled Young Veterans will have to win the title. I just think we're going to have to take a little bit of a detour to get to that point, and this is where Legado del Fantasma comes in. I guess my biggest problem with this is that the division itself is fairly devoid of tag teams into itself. You threw out Everrise out there. Drake and Killian Dane are, to me, the same as Everrise. And then from there, you kind of take a step.
Imperium's a good tag team.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That was the next step up where you got Bartel and Fabian Eichner. Obviously, they're former champs on both sides of the fence. So, I mean, you could have them kind of start wrecking havoc. I would assume at some point, because they keep teasing it, there will be another member of Imperium. All signs kind of point to Timothy Thatcher.
So that was one thing that I was talking about as far as drop storylines. Remember that 3 weeks ago where there was a COVID thing and Timothy Thatcher wasn't there, and Ciampa was like, "Oh well, I've got your boy. Like if you've got mine," and then the next week they were just there. Like
right.
There was no kind of like follow up to that story. And I get you have to like throw curveballs for COVID and stuff, but like there wasn't a follow up, and I'm just kind of waiting for that follow up.
There's also Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory if they felt like doing that. Grizzled Young Veterans, it looks like the MSK is going to feud with Legado for a while, and that's fine. That's completely cool. Ultimately,
NXT doesn't have like the deepest tag team roster it's ever had, but I think that they have the talent if they want to focus on it, for sure. And I think they should focus on it because AEW has such a insane talent roster on the tag team side. If they want to compete, then they could focus on that because it is a set of titles that they could focus on. The AEW titles are kind of wrapped up with the Young Bucks. Like they could put AEW or they could put NXT tag titles on TV.
The thing that's weird to me is that they have Breezango right there, which they could be. They could serve. Even though I think they're both way more talented. Well, not talented, but they're talented and younger than Cassius Ohno was. But like Cassius Ohno was like the gatekeeper for new talent. Why not? Why not? Now I'm fine with the MSK having the tag titles now, but I just think Breezango could serve a much better purpose than what they are now, which is basically jobbers. They're funny jobbers, and they're two guys that can fucking go. I mean, I'm well established how much I like Fandango. Tyler Breeze is a fucking stud. I still watch Tyler Breeze and Jushin Liger once every 6 months.
Yeah, that's a really good fucking match, and that really put Tyler Breeze on the map.
I just think that they have more than they could. Now MSK's they're great champions. They're great babyface champions. Grizzled Young Veterans. Grizzled Young Veterans are too, and I like the idea.
And they're the perfect foil to MSK.
I like the idea of Grizzled Young Veterans being the one to take the belts away from them and put MSK in chase mode for a while. Now that MSK has had the belt, just take it off them. Put them in chase mode.
No, you're not going to just take it off of them. I mean,
take it off.
No, you got to make a little sense. I mean, let them do a lap with the belts or with some nonsense. I agree with Tuvier on this one. I'm not going to sit here and say compare the tag teams from AEW to NXT. It's just not comparable. We know this. It's no need to beat a dead horse with this. I'll just say this. If there's a scenario where they want to really start to focus on the tag team division, this is it. There's not a lot of solid name tag teams in NXT. If you wanted to bring in one or two more, Lorcan and Birch, the former champs, are going to come back at some point, but that, to me, that adds depth. It's not a top-tier team. If you can bring in a top-tier team, whether you bring them back from...
How about Rude and Ziggler? That sounds like a lot of fun.
I was going to say Cedric and Shelton Benjamin, honestly, because I mean...
too. Either way.
Either one would work for me. Only reason you can't say Rude and Ziggler is because they're the tag team champs, and it doesn't really serve a good purpose. I'm talking about somebody that's going to come there and stay there.
Let me ask.
That just goes to show that I have no idea who the tag team
I was just going to say, Zach, did you know that Rude and Ziggler were the tag team champs on SmackDown? Because
no, I knew Omos and AJ, but I didn't know Rude and Ziggler. So.
See what happens when you put that shit on SmackDown the week before, or the day before WrestleMania.
I mean, Rude and Ziggler are hard to get excited about.
No, they're just not a true tag team. And
they're called the Dirty Dogs. Did you know that, Zach? They're called the Dirty Dogs.
Well, I like it a little bit more now, and I still liked it before.
DAWGZ.
Mm-hmm. Dolph Ziggler type shit. They're just not they're not a real tag team to me. They don't feel like a tag team to me. They're two singles guys that they don't have any plans for, so fuck it. Here you go. WWE shit.
I hear you. Speaking of Oney Lorcan, Kushida and Oney Lorcan Kushida had the open challenge for the North American title.
It's like, don't do it. Don't do it.
Oney Lorcan came in, and I would have watched these guys for another 10 minutes. They fought for 6 minutes. Kushida won via submission. Legado del Santos stands on the ramp. Legado del Fantasma, Joaquin Wilde and
Raul Mendoza.
Thank you. They came out. They attacked him. MSK comes to the rescue. So that's going to be a 6-man tag, which, if that was on AEW, I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's see these guys go. I don't have as much faith in NXT to do a 6-man match.
Wow.
What do you mean, wow?
I mean, wow. Okay, look at the guys that we have in this match. Kushida and MSK versus Legado del Fantasma. That sounds like the shit.
It's still WWE.
It's still NXT.
I know, but it's still got that stink of the WWE, let's just make a tag team out of these guys that have nothing to do with each other type of match.
It's a 6-man tag.
NXT does have to wash off that stink because during the Wednesday Night Wars, they got that main roster stink, and it's not anything that I want to happen. It's not even anything that I want to say because I want to love NXT as much as I loved it before. But they definitely fell when they switched from 1 hour to 2, and whenever they started doing the booking against AEW. If NXT focuses in on their own divisions and they focus on telling stories with their talent, I have every hope that they will succeed because we've seen it before. NXT used to be the best wrestling show, not on TV because it wasn't on TV, but it was the best wrestling show every single week. And it just hasn't been. And I would like to say it's not their fault, just because like AEW has done such a great job, but it is kind of their fault because they still could be. And even though I do enjoy watching it every week, I don't have that same level of excitement as I once did. And I think they could get back to that if they wash off that main roster stink and stop doing the main roster type stuff.
Yeah, I think that they could get back to that too. It was there's also the WWE style of match, which NXT doesn't necessarily inhabit all the time or exhibit all the time. I don't know which one of those words would work, but
I don't know. You the English major.
Well, maybe Zach can tell me.
Yeah, what are you two jokers?
I think exhibit's better.
Okay, but yeah, of course all those dudes can fucking go. Yes, and of course I would be excited. I would be more excited if all 6 of those guys were going in AEW because I think that AEW would have less restrictions on what they would be able to do.
Or PWG or ROH. Or
I mean, if you talk about PWG and ROH, then there's way less eyes on it, and then they're really allowed to do anything the fuck that. I mean, I'd rather see it at a house show, to be honest. But Kushida got a good win to establish his North American Championship. I think that they had advertised that he was going to cut a promo. They probably cut that short because he
cut a little mini promo. I mean,
Yeah, and his English isn't so good, but that's okay. Just accentuate the positives, get rid of the negatives and make this guy what he should be, which is a big-time fucking star.
I'll just say this. I hear what you guys are saying. I don't necessarily totally disagree with the move to Wednesdays. I think that was a counter move to try to take away the AEW market. Okay, fair enough. Going from 1 hour to 2 hours, I mean, if you'd have told me back in the day, or any of us back in the day, that you'd have had a 2nd hour NXT when it was hot, we'd have come in our pants over that shit. So I don't want to hear the fact that a 2nd hour was a part of the downfall of NXT. The downfall, if anything, is that they moved it to Wednesday nights to go directly against AEW and then start a counter program against it instead of just doing what they normally have done and what you said on multiple times on this podcast of just go about their business. Don't worry about what AEW does. Don't talk about AEW. Do your job.
Okay, I'm going to agree with you.
Yeah,
go ahead, Zach.
They had I was just going to say, they used to book 6 weeks out. So, it was great because they knew they had a plan, right? So, on that 1 hour show, those were all filmed like in the same day. Like everybody at Full Sail was there, and spoilers were available if you wanted them, but like I never looked at them. And they booked 6 weeks out, and they filmed all the shows in front of a live crowd. So they had a plan for 6 weeks, and it just goes back to what I said, where the recent shows seem like they exist in a vacuum, and there's no plan week to week, very main roster like. So if they get back to that, where they book longer, I'm not asking for a year's worth of booking, but just like
nobody's Gato.
Yeah, like at least, even with AEW, I can see some stuff that exists, and I'll talk about this like when we get to the 2 count, but like the AEW show was mainly setting up the May 5th show and the pay-per-view. I have no idea what's going to happen on the next NXT pay-per-view, let alone what's going to happen next week on NXT.
We don't even know when the next pay-per-view is for NXT.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like it's just, we don't know. So if they get back to that, like kind of regularly scheduled stuff, we would love it just as much. 2 hours or 1 hour. I know 2 hours harder, but they've got the depth and they can do it. They've got the resources and they can do it. Fuck, I'd do it for them. Just call me. BFR Zach. DM. I'll do it.
Let them book the territory, guys. I agree with some of what you guys are saying. I disagree with some of what you guys are saying. I'll say this. There is no way that if NXT was on Wednesday night this week, that they would have gone up against AEW with a main event of Kyle O'Reilly versus Cameron Grimes. There's just no way. Because they were feeling that I listened to an interview this week with Triple H, with Peter Rosenberg, who I'm not the biggest fan of him. In fact, I'm not a fan of at all. But he's, Triple H will give him a good half-hour interview where Triple H was saying, he never said AEW. He kept saying, we're not in this imaginary war. We're against, we're competing against everything. It's like, yeah, motherfucker, but that's not exactly true, because if you're talking about people that are going to watch wrestling between 7 and 9 on a Wednesday night, you're competing for those eyes for sure. Like, I don't know how nobody ever pushes back on these guys whenever they say that, because Vince has said that forever and Triple H has said that forever.
It's because they will not do interviews with you if you push back.
It's such a dumb politician line, though.
And can we rewind after
it's so easy to rebut
the week 1 loss when AEW and NXT went head-to-head. NXT won the first week, and it was like, oh, my God, AEW won the first week, and, motherfuckers was losing their mind. Triple H comes out on Twitter and basically comes out and says, kudos to AEW for this, the week 1 win, but this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. So the fact that you
lost both, motherfucker.
Okay, so the fact that you're saying that now, hindsight that we're doing all this and independent of AEW is bullshit. You knew that what you were doing, you knew what you were doing, you went against AEW, you got your head smacked in, and now you're trying to be like, oh well, no, we weren't trying to mess with AEW. No, fuck that. You got your head smacked.
We're also competing against TikTok. No, you're not, motherfucker. You're not competing against TikTok. You're competing against AEW because the people that would watch your show on Wednesday night if there was no AEW are watching AEW instead.
And we actually saw that because the AEW audience, 1.2 million last week.
Right. And
their older audience grew exponentially. It was like double. Yeah. Like, I don't have the stats in front of me, but like, they grew every age group by like 50, 75, 100%. Like, it was very obvious that all those people that would have watched NXT live watched NXT live, and then the next night they watched AEW live.
Yeah, as much as everybody acts like they're a AEW purist or an NXT purist, motherfuckers, you're all just fucking wrestling marks just like the rest of us. Okay. You're going to watch it no matter what's on. You might flip in between your baseball game like I do or whatever NBA game I'm watching, but you're going to watch either one no matter what because you're a fucking mark. So stop being such a fucking mark.
You're a nerd.
Just like the rest of us. The thing, this might sound like a hot take, though. The 2-hour NXT on TV is so much better than the 1-hour NXT that was on the network. It's not even
That's
close. That's a hot take. It's not even close, though. You would never have Io Shirai versus Rhea Ripley in a 21-minute barn burner on the NXT Weekly show. It would never happen. There's not even a whole lot of bullshit on NXT's 2-hour show. Even this week, there wasn't a whole lot of bullshit. There might be a match that you're not necessarily that invested in, but it's better. NXT's 1-hour show used to have a bunch of bullshit because they would be doing, like Zach said, 4 or 5 shows in front of the same audience, and you can't fool those motherfuckers into being excited as good as that Full Sail audience is.
No argument here. Zero. You said basically eloquated as so well as humanly possible. I can't even piggyback on that. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Thank you. Zach, you want to tell us why you're wrong?
I won't necessarily argue with you. I will say that from a pure enjoyment perspective, I enjoyed, maybe because it was more consumable and it took up less of my time.
That's for
even
sure.
If there were more squash matches, which there were more squash matches on the 1-hour show because they were building talent in that way. But it does seem like there's I won't say filler, but I don't necessarily feel like that whole 2 hours like always necessitates 2 hours. I don't always feel like they have 2 hours of content, whereas I know that people get tired of the AEW comparison, but with Dynamite, it's like the exact opposite. They're putting like 75 people on the show, which is too much, right? We've talked about that. That's altogether too much, but at least they're trying to get their talent out there.
Sorry to cut you off, but yes, that is the biggest problem. Oh no! I always said it when they were going against each other, and now they're not. So we don't have to say this forever. But when they were going against each other, I watched AEW. It just seemed like more of an event.
I wouldn't. To me, it's which was the better card. If there was a title match on NXT and not a title match on AEW, chances are I'll watch NXT first because title match greater than anything on non-title match. Let's go like that.
Okay, what else happened, Jason, before we move on to the 2 counts?
Main event, obviously, we get to Kyle O'Reilly versus Cameron Grimes. Not a great match, but good match where you see Kyle O'Reilly finally go over and get the win. Like I said, for me, the biggest thing coming away from this was the fact that you had the tease with Karrion Kross. Now, how long Adam Cole stays out of the mix, I guess, is the biggest question. If you get to a title match with Kross versus Kyle O'Reilly, that's when I think you bring in Adam Cole, because obviously that's the best way you could use him at that point. You screw me over out of the title. Now I'm going to have to get you out of the screw you over the title the same way. If it happens beforehand, I'm okay with that too. But to me, ultimately, I think we're getting back to O'Reilly Cole too. To me, it's just when and where we get there. Go ahead, Tibur.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was a fine match. Not necessarily of the same caliber as the main event of Wednesday night. Again, I'm doing the comparison thing. I'm just like ingrained. Got to compare. But
God damn, dude, it's Tuesday versus Wednesday.
I know. We'll get there eventually. But
yeah,
but yeah, it was a fine TV main event. But like you said, not like a marquee match or anything. But I love this Cameron Grimes character so much. Like, I am invested in this fucking comedy geek.
Yes, me too, man. I'm all in on him. I think he's fucking great. And when he finally decides to get serious and they finally decide to start putting some gold around his waist, I'm going to be all about it. I'm going to be buying Cameron Grimes shirts.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The only thing, I wish I would be able to hear his entrance music more, because that to me is what gets me invested in Cameron Grimes, because I like the music.
You know what? And
I like the video, and I thought the video was the one thing where I was like, okay, see, this shit's fucking funny.
And you know what? Like, Daniel Bryan was a comedy wrestler for a while in WWE also. He was a really fucking good comedy wrestler, but so is Cameron Grimes, and he's the type of guy that's so good in the ring, just like Daniel Bryan. I'm not saying he's as good as Daniel Bryan, but just like Daniel Bryan, that he's the guy that can pull it off better than.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison. Actually, I didn't even think about that.
Well, I wish I would have came up with it. Somebody on Twitter called him the North Carolina Daniel Bryan, and I really liked it.
Yeah, no, that's a really good call.
Appalachian Daniel Bryan.
Before we move on to the 2 count, I want to say something in Zach's defense about the 1 hour NXT that I just thought of. The NXTs being 1 hour and being a bunch of squash matches kind of laid the arable land for NXT takeovers to be so off the charts fucking great. And now that you see all these guys every week, it's kind of left the takeovers. The takeovers aren't what they used to be. I don't know if we'll ever get back to what takeovers used to be. It was just such a perfect little chemistry project of the best wrestlers in the world with a weekly show that didn't really have a whole lot going on. I mean, it had plot lines, but you would get to the NXT takeover and it would just knock you off your socks. So I guess, like, in my mind, we used to have D+ weekly NXT shows that would equal an A+ takeover, and now we have C+ NXT shows that end up in, B takeovers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, takeovers aren't
you have that,
they're not what they're used
to.
We
have that thing with the main roster, which there is a happy medium, but like by the time you see a main roster pay-per-view match, you've already seen those guys on Raw and SmackDown like half a dozen times and a bunch of bullshit finishes, and it kills the fucking match. That's why I really like whenever they do kind of just throw some shit together on the main roster for TakeOver, even if they just like throw them together like KO and Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins, Cesaro. It's like they had a little bit of build-up, but we didn't see those guys in a whole bunch of matches, and we just knew those guys were going to fucking kick ass. Like, that, I don't mind you throwing a couple dudes together for a fucking baller fucking match.
Couldn't that be why we like NJPW the best, though, is because we don't watch a weekly show?
There is that, but you see, it's just different because you see a lot of the mixed tags, and honestly, like I texted you guys earlier, like New Japan has been borderline boring lately, and I mean, I've been watching New Japan for a long time. I'm not real hype on New Japan. The matches, like, still have the potential to be good when you put the right people together, but there aren't a whole lot of storylines that are like incredibly intriguing to me on New Japan.
Here's the thing about the 6-man tags and the 10-man tags in New Japan PW, though, is that they don't matter if you never watch them. And that's what I do. Bring on the G1. That'll do it for 1 count. Here's our 2 count.
1,
So
2,
you just can't have the Super Bowl right away.
2 Beer, give us the 2 count.
God damn.
2 count will go AEW Dynamite. Start off with Adam Page and Ricky Starks, which was a solid opener, solid match. Definitely, even though Adam Page goes over, not a huge surprise here because he's been ranked number 1 for a good little while. Looks like he's going to be going up against Omega at the next pay-per-view, likely, which I don't necessarily. I think it's too early for Page to win the title, but I think it's great they're matching them up because of their history. I think that will make for a very enticing pay-per-view match. But these guys had a really great curtain jerker. Ricky Starks had like a stumble. I don't know if it was storyline or if it was a legit shoot injury, but it was like a German suplex where he kind of worked his ankle a little bit. He kind of limped out later to like when he did like the run out, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But these guys, put on a good opening match, and this is, kind of classic Dynamite opening match. Had a lot of fun with it.
I was a big fan of this entire episode of Dynamite, and I really liked this opening match quite a bit.
I do have to say something else real quick, is this whole show was very much built around new stars, right? Because we did have talking segments from the Elite, but there was no Cody. We had the talking segments of the Elite, and we had the segments with like Moxley and Kingston and stuff. But like this show, like they took a 1.2 million audience, and then the very next week they didn't say, let's load up this show with a bunch of our established stars to try to keep this audience. They're like, all right, let's utilize these new viewers that we have and show them our new guys. And that's what they did with this episode.
I think Ricky Starks is awesome.
He's great. He's a total package.
Total package. I totally agree. Obviously, Paige is... It's hard to say that Paige is an established star. You know, I know that he held the tag belts for a long time, but even to an American audience, especially to an American audience that has been so conditioned on WWE, to have a guy like Adam Page and to make him a star is, you know, pretty hard. That's what Jericho was talking about on Austin's podcast a couple weeks ago or whatever. But I like Ricky Starks a lot. I love this match. I just don't understand why there's any problem, and this might, I don't even know if it's nitpicking at this point. I don't want to beat a dead horse. I just don't understand why Adam Page can't go over Ricky Starks, and that just be the end of the segment, and they go to some other segment backstage. I don't know why the fucking Dark Order has to come out. I don't know why Team Taz has to come out. Why can't we just have these guys fucking wrestle? One guy wins, and then he just looks pissed off at the winner as Adam Page walks backwards up the ramp. It's so predictable and so frustrating, and it just reeks to me of NWO and LWO and the Red NWO, whatever the fuck they were called.
The Wolfpack.
Thank you.
Oh, my God. You remember the LWO, but you can't remember the Wolfpack?
Whatever.
Outside of that,
what the fuck?
I'm not going to disagree with you. Like, I don't know if you expected me to, but I won't disagree with you at all.
I'm not trying to get you to disagree with me, but I'm sitting there watching it by myself, and I'm like so frustrated because let's say that you don't do a weekly podcast, which not a whole lot of wrestling fans don't do, but there are a few wrestling fans out there that don't do a wrestling podcast.
And we thank you.
Yeah,
for
I'd say of the 1.2 million, only 1 million do.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a jungle out here,
but if you're watching it and then all these motherfuckers come out, I mean, where are you supposed to be watching on the screen? You know what I mean? And I'm sorry, Zach, that you feel like I'm insulting you and I'm insulting AEW when really I'm just insulting AEW and your taste in wrestling. But I'm just kidding.
Wow. You ain't shit.
Jason's shaking his head like that's too far. It's like, shut the fuck up. We're cousins.
You are family. I just got to stay out of it. My bad.
But I just like if you have two guys that just, you know, they leave it all on the ring for 10 minutes or whatever they gave Ricky Starks and Adam Page. That should be enough. And man, leave the viewer being like, man, that was really great, and I'd like to see that guy wrestle again, or I'd like to see that guy go over again. Then instead of having these guys, half of them get masks, come out and start like, and they're the good guys, it just doesn't make any sense. It's really frustrating to me. Just extremely frustrating. Jason, what do you think?
A lot to unpack. I'll just start with the match first. I thought the match was great. Ricky Starks comes out looking better than he came in. I'm with everybody else here. I expected Adam Page to go over, which he did. But in that sense, I thought the match itself told a story in a sense of, could Ricky Starks be the one to break Adam Page and put the pressure on him to make him fold under said pressure? The ankle injury, I'm going to chalk that up as a work. I think he turned it, but I don't think it was anything to the sense of, you know, a major injury. If it was major, I don't think he comes out at the end. I just think he sold it so well. So we have to give Ricky Starks credit.
I think it was a shoot injury that he played up for the match just because he's a pro.
Okay, so turned it, but then, you know, in the same sense, that's what I think made the match great, because there was moves that Starks was trying to do, but then was like, oh shit, you know, I can't really do this. I think he was trying to deadlift Adam Page at one point, and he kind of got him up, and he kind of hesitated, and I'm like, oh, is this the ankle? And then he finally, you know, got him up, and I think it was a power bomb or something like that. The ring psychology I thought was really good. Now, the post-match shit is where I think we have, I guess, the biggest problem with this whole thing. I don't necessarily have a problem with the heels jumping Adam Page. That's what they do. I guess my problem is with you on this one is with the Dark Order involvement. If Adam Page is basically saying that I don't want to be a part of this group, but you're still going to have his back, then there's some sort of disconnect happening there. Because basically to me that says, y'all are cool, but I don't want to hang with y'all. But if I'm getting my ass handed to me, y'all going to run out. That doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even make sense in realistic terms. If you met a person that was like, yeah, you cool, but I don't want to hang out with you. If you saw this motherfucker getting his ass handed to him in the street, you gonna run over there and help him? Fuck no, you ain't gonna help him. You might call the police and be if
it was Taz's kid.
Please. You might call the police, be the good Samaritan, and be like, yeah, this motherfucker over here getting his ass handed to him on the corner of roads and fill in the blank. But you ain't
nobody on this podcast called the police.
Fucking Jason's trying to give out my address. Jason, why don't you just tell him my street number? I'm almost out of here anyway.
I was getting ready to say it doesn't matter.
612 Rhodes Avenue. 612 Rhodes Avenue.
Shit, but that's just my point. I don't have a problem with the match. The post match shit sets up what happens later on in the show, which is fine. You know, Team Taz banned from ringside, Dark Order, thank God, banned from ringside. I mean,
I do like that they tagged us.
Yeah, right. I was getting ready to say I want my royalty check. You know, not my royalty check, our royalty check. But nonetheless,
man, did you hear that? Somebody thinks they the star.
We should send Tony Khan to cease and desist.
Yeah, right. I was getting ready to say,
we at least get a payday.
Take our name off the goddamn show.
It's like Bobby Brown at the end of New Edition.
No, you are not calling me no Bobby Brown.
Johnny Gill?
Yeah, okay. I feel more better at Johnny Gill. Bobby Brown broke up New Edition, man. That hurt my heart.
And the kids are listening to us being like, who the
fuck is New Edition?
You guys know who Jodeci is?
Never mind.
Kind of like the nexus of hip hop.
Pretty good. I like that. I like that a lot. I think that was 112, actually.
Oh, no.
Coming up next, we had Penta versus Trent. Zach, I have a question for you. Why does Trent's name have a question mark after it?
I have that same question.
Okay, good, because that makes me feel a whole lot better. Because I mean, I know
they
you
even
watch.
Said it in commentary, and it was just like JR brought it up, and Trent's like, "Well, I think that's the question," or not Trent, but Excalibur's like, "I think that's the question." But yeah, I don't know. I do know that Tony Khan is very high on Trent, and he said in an interview that I listened to with him that Trent was the hardest talent to get in AEW, which is, I think, really funny when you think about like how Trent has been positioned throughout his career. But he was like the hardest sell. But he's very high on Trent Beretta, as he should be. Like Trent Beretta rules. But
was he making a bunch of money working the fry side at Chili's or something?
No.
I'm not making fun of people that work the fry side.
No, New Japan had plans for him and Chucky, you know. And, it was just tough. So, but yeah, I have no idea. But this match was fine. Like we had the what do you call it? I watched the Fight TV version where I got to see the post slap because that was like in the picture-in-picture version. So at least I had that. Oh, awesome! My wife just brought me my new battery that came in the mail. And on 420 there was a sale for batteries on.
Must be nice. That Terra's a good one.
Motherfucker.
Yep. Anyway, sorry, but yeah, good match, and
the guy that's running around with Penta right now.
Alex, he's
got a hard last name to say.
He's a lot of fun.
He is great.
Yeah, he reminds me of
he's the Penta Leo Rush.
No.
He kind of does though.
Ricardo Rodriguez is who I was going to say, but yeah, you can go with Leo Rush.
I mean, he's kind of
annoying enough to where you want him to get his ass handed to him at some point. So I agree with you on that.
He's so cocky about what he translates for Penta, and as somebody who doesn't speak Espanol, I don't know if that's what Penta's actually saying.
Yeah, it works for me.
It works for me too.
I think that makes it even funnier. I actually hope that he's not saying any of that.
Right.
I hope that Penta's saying like,
Alex is like, fuck it, I got this.
And he's like, hey, I just want to be friends. And Alex is like, he says, fuck your mother.
Right. I was like, oh, shit. I want to jump back on Trent for 30 seconds. I agree with you. Actually, I agree with you, to be on Trent Beretta. I like Trent Beretta. I think he's very underrated, especially as a singles guy. When in New Japan, he was tagging with Rocky Romero. They were Roppongi before Roppongi 3K came around with Show and Yo. So, I mean, they had a run there as a tag team or whatever. I think they won the tag team championships at one point. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, they had them.
Okay, I thought so. But then, Trent became like a singles guy for a little bit before. I want to say it was right around the time of All In is when he became like a singles guy for a little bit. Him and Chucky T were like a tag team a little bit, but him being Trent did have a singles run for a little bit, and that really, captured my attention. I love tag team wrestling, but I mean, if you could separate one of those tag team guys, say a Kofi Kingston in this scenario, because it's the first person I thought of, and make him a singles guy, and it works, that to me is like even, it just poses more value for Trent Beretta. So I'll give him credit for that. You know what I'm saying? This match was okay. It could have been better. I didn't like the outside when he was talking, when Alex kind of got involved or whatever. They were both, everybody's outside, Penta's on the ground, and then he threw out the mama line or whatever, which is great, by the way. I'm sorry that, I'm just old school like that. Your mama jokes are like, that's a reason to fight anybody. So, of course, Trent loves Sue or whatever, so he goes after him. That whole interaction was a little awkward. Outside of that, I thought the match was fine. I just have a problem with, we were having Cody and Penta, and now we totally shifted away from that, and we're going on a different angle. That's the only thing I have a problem with that, is it felt like the Cody Rhodes storyline was just starting, and then we stopped it, and now we're trading Cody out, putting Trent Beretta in.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that.
Right on. I can see that. Like I said, AEW has some pickup, start, stop kind of stuff too. And especially with Cody, because the biggest one that I think of is Cody MJF. That is a huge story that has not been paid off yet. And I expect that whenever they do it, it will be great. But I feel like Cody's kind of the biggest one to do these kinds of start-stop kind of things. And I don't know the reason, but that's the biggest one that I can think of, because I'm still waiting for Cody to get his payback on MJF, because he kept him from ever having the title ever again.
Right?
So, like, shouldn't he be super fucking pissed about that still?
Every turn. If I saw somebody that kept me away from the ultimate goal, every turn I see, I'll just say this, because I've had a drink or two before I even walked in this door.
That's good. I've had 7.
There's certain people I don't like, and there's certain relatives I don't like. If I saw said relative or said person getting accosted or something bad happened to them, I know me. I ain't rushing to help that motherfucker. Fuck them. So that's where I'm kind of like with Cody on this one. Where is that receipt that you should be having in your hand at every fucking turn? If I see MJF, I'm whomping your motherfucking ass. Every turn.
Totally. Yeah, for sure. But hopefully it pays off eventually. But some other stuff. We had a couple really good title matches. We had a Karushida versus Tay Conti. And oh my God, I'm just going to bring up again how great my pick was for underrated of the year for Tay Conti.
She ain't underrated anymore, dude.
I tell you she is, and I think now is the time that I can also give Zach credit for this, because you were right, man. She was untapped potential at the beginning of the year, and now that we're a full almost 4 months into it, she's great. She fucking rules.
Yeah, she's a total star. She's got just a great smile, and I'm not saying that like, oh yeah, she's hot, like, right? You know, like
no, you're saying that, but you're just being nice about it.
I've been relegated to horny jail plenty of times in this podcast. Like, you don't have to bonk me and take me to horny jail. Like, I'm just saying that she's fucking a total star, and her marketability is part of that, is her look. But part of it is that she's a fucking legit shooter, right? Like, and Excalibur put her over saying she's been training in judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu since she was 7 years old, right? She's only 4 years in this business, but she's fucking, since she was 7 years old, she's been training to fight. And there was a legit chance that she was going to take this title. And I think one of the reasons that I liked this show so much was because there was 2 title matches where I legit thought that those titles could change hands. And whenever neither one of them did, I was actually kind of surprised. Which is cool. Like, that's what I want out of weekly television, right? Like, I want suspense. I want, some drama. And I had that. And there was a bunch of near falls. And these ladies fucking killed it. Like, she's a good champion. Tay Conti's a great challenger. She'll have her day. But this was a great performance for both of these women. And I really enjoyed this match a lot.
I did too. I thought it was awesome. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say. Tay Conti, well, there's not a whole lot to say that I want to say on the air, I guess. I would say that Hikaru Shida is almost kind of becoming an unlikable champion. I think it's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like Twitter's turning against her. Yeah, the IWC.
I don't pay attention to Twitter.
Oh man, what?
It's a good thing you did, because I was
being on Twitter
knee deep in some bullshit this afternoon.
Being on Twitter while you're watching live wrestling, there is nothing like it. I love it the most.
Oh yeah,
or when there's playoff basketball. That. Oh, I love it.
Playoff basketball is the shit.
Love it.
Anything that's happening live, like, that's the best part about Twitter. Is if it's happening live, you can like comment and you feel like you're a part of this like community, and you get instant validation and stuff. But like, I don't pay attention to it outside of that, because like, outside of that, there's a lot of
I'm
negativity.
just talking about while I was watching it last night. It seems like everybody was rooting for Tay Conti, and it's not. Is it Tay Conti?
Tay Conti. That's why I pronounce it. But go ahead.
I mean,
yeah,
and it's not just because of aesthetics, like the way that she looks. I mean, she's obviously gorgeous. So is Hikaru Shida.
Yeah,
but Tay Conti really has something. I mean, she's got it, and she's fun to watch, and I was rooting for her. It looks like we're getting Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida, though, and I think that Britt Baker, I think it's time for Shida's reign to end. Britt Baker's going to take it, and then we get Britt Baker as a heel versus Tay Conti as a face,
or Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, so that made more sense. Whenever Conti didn't take it, and then Britt came out immediately, I was like, oh, this totally makes sense. Like, so at least it wasn't like a disappointment to where it's like, oh, where do they go next? Because, like, we know where they go next. And it actually makes way more sense. So, like, I'm into it. Like, I'm into this AEW women's division. And, I don't think there's, like, a paltry thing to say about it currently. Like, it is entertaining, and there's been good matches. Especially with Chris Statlander back. She was really hot before she had her injury. Like, there are plenty of good matchups with talented women set up in this division. Like, I don't think it is what it was 6-8 months ago. I think it's great.
I'll say this. Tay Conti, I thought that there was something there in NXT, but we all have to kind of remember who was in NXT at that time. Io, Asuka, Shayna Baszler, Ember Moon. That was probably their golden age. There's a couple other names I forget off the top of my head, but that was probably their golden age for the women's division in NXT, and Tay Conti was there. So whether it was a scenario, whether she was just hurt at the time, or, there's so much talent.
I think it's an indictment on WWE.
Don't do that. No.
I 100% think that's the case. she was taught a certain way to wrestle and she didn't get over, and then she goes and then she immediately gets over in another promotion. Like, that's an indictment on, like, the Performance Center. 100%.
Okay. All right, so let's just go down the list. If you wanted to put give Ty Conte a push in NXT, would you put her ahead of Io Shirai?
Put her, like, ahead? What do you mean?
Yeah, like, if you had to push one or the other first, do you push Ty Conte or Io Shirai?
Oh, well, I mean, like, obviously Io Shirai, because he's, like, established.
Okay.
He's a name. But, like,
Shayna Baszler.
She needs to be
Shayna Baszler or Ty Conte.
But, like, I'm just saying, even in the matches, she didn't look good. Like, whenever Tay Conti was signed to AEW, I was like, oh, man, I was like, that's a risk. I was like, I know she looks good. Like, she's marketable. That's the PC way of saying she's mega hot. But, like, at the same time, like, she didn't necessarily look good in her matches. And then she went and trained with QT for a while, and she fucking looked great.
Now, hold on a second. Now, we spend a lot of time on this podcast talking about how NXT just churns out stars, just churns out Bianca Belairs and Io Shirai's and
Charlotte Flair,
Ripley's and all these
Sasha
people.
Banks.
It's like you can't say that's an
Shayna Baszler.
You can't say it's an indictment on the WWE Performance Center that Ty Conte couldn't get over, because maybe she just wasn't ready. Maybe she worked with Matt Bloom or Hugh Morris or whoever the fuck is down there, Shawn Michaels anymore, or
that was probably before Shawn, but go ahead.
Might have been Dusty Rhodes.
Oh, so
I mean, like, are you? Oh, Zach, you heard it here first. Zach said that Dusty Rhodes doesn't know shit about wrestling.
See?
You heard it here first. Unbelievable.
Now you fucked up for that. I think that was the argument running on Twitter today. Whether whose fault was it? Was it the fact that WWE dropped the ball because Ty Conte was in their system and they let her go, or is it credit to AEW and the fact that AEW kind of took Ty Conte in and built this up to what you see today?
Now, I'm going to give you an answer that's...
I just realized I was on mute, and I thought you guys were being super rude talking over me, but it was just because I was on mute. I will say,
apologize, damn it.
We're just running you down. No, shut the fuck up, Zach. No,
Zach's over here like,
you sit there.
Zach's over here like, and another thing. Wait a minute. Why can't I hear myself?
Yeah, that's exactly how it was. I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm like, they're not listening to me at all. But NXT has a few self-grown stars. Like, Charlotte Flair is a different example. You know, she was homegrown. That's why they're so high on Velveteen Dream, and they haven't released him because he's homegrown. Like, all of their other stars, like, they don't make stars, they fucking sign stars. They sign stars, and then they get over in their promotion because they're already established. Like, this is
WWE?
The majority of NXT. NXT. Like, they sign independent stars, right? Like, they don't have a whole lot of, like, self-grown stars, and when they do, they protect them. They obviously didn't see that in Tay Conti, and they released her.
Yeah, but I mean,
for whatever reason,
the roster was loaded at that point. That's kind of my point.
She still didn't look good in her matches. That was all I'm saying. Like,
okay, so
she had matches, she didn't look good in them, and I attribute that to whatever the Performance Center is doing, because then she came to AEW, and all of a sudden she looked good in her matches. I just don't get it. Like, it's baffling to me.
Okay, so
they spend so much money on all this.
Okay, so is this not? Can we not necessarily agree with there's sometimes a learning curve, and sometimes, like, the really great ones, like Kurt Angle, catch it right away, or dare I say a Ronda Rousey, since we're going to talk about women, that catch it right away and kind of run with it. Maybe Ty Conte didn't catch that learning curve right away. And
I think she's a square peg in a round hole, right? And I'm not being sexual there. At all. I think that they wanted her to be a certain thing, and she wasn't that thing.
They were playing off her Brazilian jiu-jitsu and her judo background.
Hold on a second. You got square.
Yeah, they do that square peg.
That's what you're focusing on.
They let her rip in AEW, and they let her do the things that would get her over. Whereas in WWE, they have a certain playbook, and Triple H has even said this. We have a certain playbook that you go by.
Yeah.
And they kind of reteach. I'm sure they're reteaching Kushida how to work. As fucking stupid as that sounds, they are teaching Kushida how to work.
Well, some people come in like Hunter always says, like, they don't know how to face a hard camera, they don't know how to play to the camera, they don't know how to X, Y, and Z, they don't know when the commercial's coming up, whatever, okay? I'm going to say something that's not very good for content, okay? Is that who knows what the fuck was going on? Maybe Tay Conte had something going on in her personal life. Maybe she just didn't jive with her trainer or something. And
that could be.
But I don't think that's an indictment on the WWE Training Center. I think the WWE Training Center has churned out some motherfuckers that are great, and I think AEW has also. I think some people just thrive in a better environment, or an environment that's better suited to them. But we don't have to belabor this point anymore. Tay Conti, and I know that I've said her name probably 5 different ways since we've been talking about her. She's fucking awesome, and she deserves the jetpack, and I want to see more of her at the top of the card in the AEW women's division.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time. Two Beers said it best. At the end of the match, you had Britt Baker come out, and that was the whole kind of her, at least, angle going up to this point, is that I'm going to go ahead and start beating down the lesser competition to get to the number 1 spot. And then as soon as she came out, they announced her as the number 1 contender. So that's probably going to be the double or nothing match coming up here in a little bit. I agree with you totally. If Britt Baker doesn't win it at this point, I don't know when she wins it. I'm not against Sheeta retaining, per se, on Wednesday night. But I think this is just the IWC in general. Once you get to a certain number of days as a title champion, it's just enough. People want to see you go away and get into chase mode. She is just in that spot, especially in a pandemic era where you didn't have fans. I don't necessarily have a problem with her keeping the title through the pandemic era. But now at this point, this is probably where Britt Baker, as hot as she is, this is the time to make her the champion. If she's not the champion at this point, then we got a problem.
JR even said, he's like, 337 days. Is it time? Like, he said it kind of in a shoot fashion. Like, is it time for her to,
That's a year.
Give up the title?
Okay, I love a long reign. A year is a long reign. It's probably time.
The Pinnacle and Inner Circle both had promo segments. The Pinnacle backstage, Inner Circle in the ring. Who had the better promo segment? Zach, I'll ask you first.
I think MJF, just because the majority of that promo is MJF. I think Wardlow did a respectable job for his bit. He brought up the fact that Chris Jericho stumbled over his words, because that was the only time that he messed up during that huge promo that we talked about. We even brought it up. And he's like, you stumbled over your words because you were scared. I thought that was a cool little bit.
That was great.
I love the MJF thing where he's like, I'm not a mark for you, I'm a mark for your spot. Like, MJF just murdered it. And I'm not going to go into hyperbole here because, like Bill said, this is what we expect out of MJF. Like, guys 30 years from now will be, like, studying MJF's, like, top 5 promos, and they'll be ignoring every other promo that he did every other single week because, like, Dusty Rhodes cut these promos every single week. He just had a handful that became famous. That's how MJF is. Like, every week he did this. Like,
I don't think we've seen we haven't seen MJF's top 5 promos yet.
No,
not at all.
I think
he just turned 25.
I know. I think that MJF has a babyface promo in him that will tear the roof off of a place. Like, I really do.
Oh my God, when MJF turns babyface, it is going to be obscene.
Man, that's going to be Armageddon. Say the world ends 7 days later. I'm sorry. StarCast will always be my fondest memory, or the lack thereof, of MJF. I totally get what you guys are saying, and I agree with what you're saying. If and when he does turn babyface, it will be a huge babyface turn. It'll be fucking great, and it'll be great to watch. It's just hard to imagine him as a babyface right now.
Not in front of the crowds, though. Like, he's doing they're doing it perfectly. Guys are always better when they, look at Rocky Maivia. When he turned heel and then he became face, all of a sudden that's what when MJF. I thought the same thing about Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins is not the promo that MJF is.
No, not even close.
He's got a babyface moveset.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see MJF's babyface moveset. In fact, I'm interested to see. I want to see where MJF goes as an in-ring performer because his promo skills far outweigh his in-ring skills.
Here you go. Okay, I'll answer the question first. The Pinnacle, I thought obviously had, I shouldn't say obvious, but it easily had the better promo. I like the fact that the Inner Circle all kind of chimed in or whatever. That's great. It's always good to see because especially with Jericho being
You'll be sucking your meat through a straw.
I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, calm down, Jake. Just calm down. I don't even know what the fuck that means. The visual in my head is all fucked up with that point, but, do your thing, man. I like Santana coming on the mic or whatever the case may be. Or just talking about, I agree with, doing your move, but that's just a bitch move. And, I agree with Santana on this one. You know what I'm saying? It was a kind of a bitch move the way that MJF did it. But it got more heat on MJF, so kudos to that scenario. Both were good. If you're making me pick one or the other, it's easily the Pinnacle. I agree with you guys. I thought Wardlow did a great job just picking up on the fact that Jericho stumbled over the Wardlow name going into it, and MJF once again he's at another level with promos because you can see him just kind of turn it on whenever he wants to. And that to me is a great sign of somebody that is just comfortable speaking on the mic whenever and wherever you need to do him.
My big thought about the Inner Circle promo was that Santana needs to talk more. The guy's 100% comfortable. He came across as cool, cocky, and like he knew his promo coming in, and if not, then he said it like he knew it coming in, or he said it with a whole bunch of confidence. And it really makes me I know the story that they were telling with MJF and Wardlow being in the Inner Circle for so long, but it really pushed Santana and Ortiz to the back. And Santana and Ortiz, I love Swagger, but Swagger doesn't really have to cut promos. Santana and Ortiz, Santana should be out there cutting promos. I mean, he's great. It's like I forgot how good of a promo he was.
Because, unfortunately, like Tubier said,
MJF sucked up all the oxygen in that faction for a while. It was just MJF and Jericho. And Jericho kind of went out there and winged it, and I don't know if he forgot his line or if that was supposed to be part of it. But
so of a reason why the Pinnacle was the better promo.
I'm ready for Jericho to take a siesta. Mike, stop working.
Yeah, right. Where the fuck is he gonna go?
I totally understand
Aruba?
that it really felt like like he was just kind of phoning it in.
I won't say he's phoning it. I wouldn't say he's phoning it in. It's kind of like one of those things where it felt like it was very impromptu with this the singing episode or whatever. So I'm gonna chalk it up to that. It was just impromptu. It sounded good. I wanted to say when he fucked it up, I wanted to say it was hoop was the word I wanted to come up with. That was the rhyming word, but neither here nor there. I mean, it was impromptu. It didn't work out. So
I've been watching Jason try to open this.
Well, I'm trying to do it with
airplane bottle of American honey whiskey. I mean, he's been trying to open it forever.
Fuck. Now you can make fun of me because I was doing two hands with that.
Zach, if you were here, I would butt you shots too, man.
Ugh, trust me, you ain't missing that much. I know you a Fireball guy. That's your shit. That American honey, not so much.
He's on mute again. Billy Gunn goes out there and jobs out to QT Marshall.
I didn't have a problem with that. I just didn't. I guess my biggest problem with this is the fact of where this match is happening. I don't think this
I was on mute again. How'd you know?
Because we talking shit on your ass. Yeah, that's what we do. This should have been a dark match. You know what I'm saying? I get it. You know what I'm saying? It has Cody involvement in it because it's the Nightmare family. But I mean, take it for what it's worth. And if this disrespect, then I'm being disrespectful. QT Marshall and Billy Gunn aren't at a point in this feud where it should be on Dynamite. It's starting on Dark. Go to Dark Elevation. Put some eyes on that. But keep it where it's supposed to be. Granted, okay, you had Anthony Ogogo come out and lay that liver punch on him. And those who don't think that that's a real thing, go back and watch Oscar De La Hoya getting dropped with that same kind of punch on YouTube, and you come back and tell me that ain't a real thing, okay? It might not be the most sexy thing you've seen, but that's real legitimate shit, okay, boys and girls?
Yeah, but is this a Billy Gunn versus QT Marshall feud, or is it a Dustin Rhodes versus QT Marshall?
Yes. That's what I was going to say. I think this was more just a match to set up the bull rope match between QT and Dustin for the pay-per-view.
Dustin
and
out there looks like he's in the Blue Man group.
Yeah, totally. He totally blew himself. But outside of, everything else that I said about the show, this is very much setting up for the pay-per-view. I mentioned how they had young stars, but this was a setup show, which is also ballsy because, they're coming off a 1.2 million, viewer episode, and then they're trying to set up their pay-per-view. They're trying to get people to buy this pay-per-view. So, that's the whole goal here. And this show was totally just geared towards getting people to drop $50 on this thing.
I'm also trying to get people to buy this pay-per-view. Hey, Joey O'Farrell, 10 Number Hall, I need you to buy this pay-per-view.
You know he's getting that motherfucker. We're going to be there.
Yeah, because it'll be my last pay-per-view, AEW pay-per-view in the Midwest. So,
oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, see, here we go. Now I got to take off work for this bullshit. I'll say, this better be on a fucking Sunday or I'm going to be pissed.
I've only seen Zach one time in the last 13 months.
Fuck, yeah. Okay.
Because he was too drunk at my work.
Well, I'll tell you what, next week we're doing the podcast from a different house.
Okay.
And Zach, you're more than welcome to come in. It's in Brentwood. I'm staying at my friend's house.
I'm planning on it. It's at Brentwood. I'm planning on it.
Yeah, we're gonna be in Brentwood.
Game on.
I got to get my phone repaired in Brentwood. So.
It's like it's supposed to happen.
So the Elite do a promo thing,
dude.
In case you think that we were out of factions, no, we're not. We haven't even talked about the Elite yet. So the Young Bucks are full heel now. With the Good Brothers, with Kenny Omega, with Don Callis, who I think is the MVP of the entire organization. They're in the bus. Moxley and Eddie Kingston come out to attack it, and the motherfuckers just disappear like they're fucking Bray Wyatt or something.
Right.
What did you think about this, Jason?
I would have liked to have seen them. I don't mean to interrupt. I would have liked to have seen them stumble out of the trailer at least and run away.
Yeah,
instead of being non-existent.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But I thought it was cool. Regardless.
3 things that I take away from this. Number 1, I don't know what the fuck your greatest tag team of all time was wearing, but they just need to stop wearing that shit. Especially
it looked
Nick.
like Matt was wearing a romper. I almost bought it. I was like, where can I find this romper?
It was so distracted. I was like, what the fuck is this? Wait a minute. I hear you, Katie, but I got to get 30 seconds on this fucking romper bullshit that these 2 jokers are wearing.
Sometimes a dude just needs to wear
I
a
actually
romper.
Googled, can they see my dick size in a romper?
Gross. Number 2.
That's a deal breaker.
Yeah, right? It's going to say, I don't need to see that shit. It's going to say...
Nobody does. They wouldn't be able to.
Marcus Dupree is the only guy I want to see rolling around with that shit, okay? As the fucking sponsor, or not even the sponsor, but dare I say the logo band from Ringside. Yeah, that's the only, Dupree I want to see running around here. Number 2, I like the fact that Moxley and Eddie Kingston are together. They got really good chemistry. They play off each other. It's almost kind of like, a buddy cop movie. I just saw Lethal Weapon the other night. They have that little good chemistry that, neither one of them has a scripted line, so they just kind of play off each other.
Which one's Murtaugh?
Kingston was Murtaugh.
Probably putting a gun in his mouth.
Kingston is Murtaugh to me.
Murtaugh. Yeah, Kingston's Murtaugh. And then what's the other
Moxley
guy?
is
Riggs.
Riggs, yeah.
Moxley's definitely Riggs because he's constantly putting a gun in his mouth.
Yeah.
You want to jump?
Eddie Kingston's pulling it out.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can see
Moxley is Riggs.
Moxley's Riggs because I can see in that scene.
And Kingston's getting too old for this shit.
Yeah.
Okay. And he married Renee Crusoe, and he already married a blonde Renee, so it's perfect.
Okay, see,
perfect.
Boom, there you go.
I think, you know what? Let's cut this part out of the podcast. Let's workshop this a little bit.
The third thing is I hate the fact is how that Kingston and Moxley got here. Okay? It always goes back to the finish that will live in AEW infamy. If you never, you can gloss over if you want to, but come on. When the beefers come around, somewhere in that ending, that finish is going to come back, good, bad, or indifferent. Okay?
I'm trying to think of which beefer it would win, though.
Like I said, you can pick the category of your choice, but we're going to talk about it again.
Because worst angle of the year, there's going to be 10 in WWE that are still about to happen.
Yeah. Okay, then here's your AEW.
It's not going to make the beefers, and I think they did an admirable job of covering it up, even though it was such bullshit.
They did the best that they could, okay? But
I haven't thought about that in a long time.
Buddy cop shit.
I'll never forget about it, okay? Because I was thinking about it. I'm like, man, they are so good together. When Moxley threw the fucking pipe into the glass or whatever, Kingston's like, hey, man, let me get out the way first. That was that good chemistry that I love to see. Yeah. But it started where?
Okay.
There.
No, well, to me, when I think about Eddie Kingston, Dean Ambrose, or Jon Moxley, I think about that promo that they had together that was the promo of the year last year. That's what I think about. I don't think about I honestly haven't thought about that fuck up, the shitty whatever it was, exploding barbed wire match, which was only 2 months ago. I still think about
it's almost forgotten.
For you guys.
No, the Eddie Kingston Jon Moxley promo together was one of the best when they
were sitting around drinking or whatever.
They worked Tinder and me. They worked us both.
Okay, where you thought that Eddie Kingston was going to win.
I thought he had a chance. That's how good that promo was.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
I love them together. Hobbs versus Christian?
I guess this is another reason why I don't like the AEW ranking system or how they do how you rank guys. Powerhouse Hobbs, I think, has the look. I think he has a good future. But a lot of the wins, I would say 99% of these wins are on dark or dark elevation. If you don't watch either or, and you just strictly watch Dynamite, it's going to be hard to look at Powerhouse Hobbs and think about who he's beaten up to this point, or these named guys, or whatever the case may be. So he's the number 4 guy versus Christian, who's obviously going to start getting that little push here in a little bit. If it's not Adam Page that gets the title shot next, Christian might be the guy that's going to get that title shot, because I think if you start having unranked guys like Christian beat the number 4 guy in Hobbs, that's where you're going to have guys like Christian start to creep into the top 5. And I don't have a problem with that. I'd rather have guys beating guys that have the number in front of them versus, no disrespect to Ricky Starks, because I'm a Ricky Starks guy, but Ricky Starks has been building up that win streak versus guys that we don't see, especially on Dynamite. Then all of a sudden, here's Ricky Starks versus Adam Page. Good thing that was a good match. So it made both guys look good. In this scenario, I don't think both guys came out looking good. Christian looked good because obviously he won. Powerhouse Hobbs looks okay, because he threw Christian around. He used his strength or whatever the case may be, but then he got kind of caught up in the usual big man scenario where Christian's just smarter. He uses experience. He catches them in the roll up. Here's the 1, 2, 3. I'll say this. For me, Ricky Starks got over. Powerhouse Hobbs didn't get over, and that to me is the two biggest match. The difference between those two those two matches. There, I can't talk.
Wow.
I'll actually disagree with that because I thought this whole match was set up around getting Will Hobbs over, and it was 85 to 90% Will Hobbs, offense, and then Christian got his comeback and he snuck a win out because he's the veteran worker, and I thought it did a good job of getting the younger guy over, even if the older guy wins. That's kind of how I read it.
For me,
that's how I perceived it.
The one that impressed me more was Ricky Starks versus Powerhouse Hobbs. If you want to compare it match to match, who I thought got over more, to me was Ricky Starks. Powerhouse Hobbs did what he was supposed to do up to the point where he lost.
I mean, I agree with Zach. I thought that the story that they were telling with Christian and Hobbs was that Hobbs was younger, he was better, and he got cocky, and the veteran got the win at the end, which is what you should do. I thought that Hobbs got over here, too. I thought Hobbs and Starks both got over, to be honest.
I would love to agree with you guys because that's what the business is. It's about putting the younger talent over. I don't think that Powerhouse Hobbs didn't do anything that I didn't expect him to do, especially in the ring. Okay, Ricky Starks, to me, was more impressive in ring versus Powerhouse Hobbs. That's just me.
All right, well, we had the main event, which was Bill's two favorite wrestlers.
I love Jungle Jack Perry.
Oh, no. Now, say, put him against MJF. I was getting ready to say, we had that push a while ago, but go ahead.
I love Jungle Boy. I
Okay.
love Jungle
So this was
Where
a
I'm wrong.
perfect example of a main event. Like, this is AEW doing a main event with young stars, right? As we can all attest, Jungle Boy and Darby Allin will wrestle. They will fight forever, right? As long as they're signed to the same brand. This is not the first meeting of these guys. It's not the last. These guys are going to keep doing this. And I was invested because I thought that they might actually put that title on Jungle Boy. It could have been a thing. And, say what you want to say about afterwards. Like, obviously we have Sting with Lance Archer, probably going to be against Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. I think that's a good pay-per-view match. The two of them versus those two, I think that's fun. You had Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page up in the rafters in the weeks past, kind of looking down, kind of an homage to Sting. And also, how cool would it be if you're Ethan Page or Scorpio Sky to have Sting pointing a bat at you on TNT television as the fucking show closes? I think that's gotta be they gotta be marking out for that. At least I would. But this match is really good. These guys wrestled a really great technical match to begin with. A lot of good mat wrestling. Just very technically sound. And I can't wait to see more of them. And I can't say I'm bummed that Jungle Boy didn't win. It was babyface versus babyface. So very, mixed feelings about that. But it was still a good match.
I never have a problem with the babyface versus babyface because, apparently this was a viewer's choice poll, so the viewers voted Jungle Boy in. I'm all about it. I guess my biggest problem with this match was towards the end where you had Luchasaurus and Sting kind of, I guess, debating on whether Luchasaurus helped Jungle Boy in, and then they started to scrap, and then they scrapped into the back. okay, I know Sting's your boy and everything, and I get that. In kayfabe style, there was no reason for him to be mad, him being Sting, being mad at Luchasaurus. I mean, it wasn't like Luchasaurus threw Jungle Boy in the ring. I mean, he basically did everything humanly possible, or in this case, dinosaurly possible, to not help Jungle Boy in this match. Okay, he put his hands up, Jungle Boy's leaning on him, and then he got into the ring, and now Sting's gonna get mad. I don't get it. Okay. It would be different if, like,
dinosaurly possible.
Well, I mean, he is a dinosaur. It would be different, like, later on when, you know, there was true interference after the match. Well, I shouldn't say interference, but when Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page came in after the match, then that's when Sting is supposed to get involved. My next problem with this is that Lance Archer doesn't get the save. It's not like Sting needs this save. Sting is set for life, okay? You know, you want to do the NWO shit, Folk Life shit, yeah, he's NWO. We can do that shit too. Lance Archer at this point probably needs to make this save more, dare I say, way more than Sting does at this point. Lance Archer is one of those guys that's in that little gray area of, you know, what we going to do with Lance Archer. Maybe this is a scenario where the roster's too big. Maybe it's a scenario where they haven't figured out what they're going to do with Lance Archer. But I thought in that scenario, when Paige and Scorpio Sky came out to, you know, attack the baby faces, that's when Lance Archer should have came out, wreaked havoc, cleared the ring, and then Sting comes out, you know, making sure that the perimeter is secure, you know, like Murtaugh should be. Let Riggs be fucking Lance Archer come in and wreak havoc.
Sting's definitely getting too old for this shit.
Okay, so he shouldn't have to come out and make the fucking save. Lance Archer is right there. I will give you the double low blow shit. It kind of protects Lance Archer, but goddamn, how many times are we going to see multiple guys take down Lance Archer before we see the flip side where Lance Archer is like, fuck you motherfuckers, I'm the Monster Hawk, I will take you jokers out. I had a great match with Jon Moxley. Clearly we forget about that shit. That's my problem. I like the match.
I wasn't
it was
real
just,
mad about this.
No, see,
He's heating up.
At a certain point, enough's enough. Sting is there to be there. And I'm not saying he's there to get Darby Allin over. Darby Allin is over, okay? It's just now we're trying to figure out who's going to take the title away from him. Is it going to be Miro? Is it going to be Lance Archer, Scorpio Sky? You got guys starting to line up for this shit. But then on the flip side of it, when we were talking about the Austin podcast with no, that was on A&E. Steve Austin's A&E biography, they were talking about how you need to start lining up guys for the champion after the big feud or whatever. In this case, it was The Rock, and they didn't have anybody lined up for anybody after Austin for that purpose. In this scenario, you need to start to figure out what the next step is. Whether Lance Archer is going to go after Kenny Omega or Darby Allin, I don't care, but just fucking figure it out. There are so many guys are in this quagmire of, what are we going to do with these motherfuckers? I love Ethan Page. I love Scorpio Sky. The fact that they're a tag team makes zero sense, number one. And you haven't even talked about why Scorpio Sky is breaking away from SCU. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I know we slam fucking WWE for doing this shit, but we got to give AEW the same crap too.
He's heating up.
Because they do this shit, and now there's like, okay, well, what about this? Or what about that? I mean, look, I like AEW like the next person, but I'm not going to let them take the pass because I like AEW and it's different from WWE. It's got to be held to the same fucking standard that we hold them to everybody else.
Zach, thoughts?
I won't disagree with that. Like, we totally have to hold them to the same standard. I just don't have... I think this is a decent use of Lance Archer in the meantime, because like Jason said, what are we going to do with Lance Archer? Because he's obviously protected, and he seems like a top guy. So in the meantime, we have him wrestle with Sting, which is not like putting him down. It's not putting him in a situation where he's.
Do we need to have him match with Sting though? I mean, really?
I mean,
do we need to?
Sting putting
not
him over,
necessarily, but
Sting putting him over means that's a match, and Sting loses said match. Okay,
but
I don't think
we're
seeing that right now.
If this is going to be on a pay-per-view, he will be one of the reasons people buy a pay-per-view, like to see Lance Archer team with Sting. Like that is a reason someone would buy this pay-per-view, and I don't think that's a demotion, or I don't think that's a negative thing. So if he's not going to be the top guy right now, I don't see pairing him with a top guy or a veteran is necessarily a bad thing. Now, Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page, I can give you those, but at the same time, they just have so many guys right now, and it's just a problem. It's inherent in having a 2-hour show because those guys probably do deserve better than just being in a tag team. But it just is what it is right now.
No, you got 3 shows, man. I'm sick of hearing this 2-hour show nonsense. You got 3 shows.
Yeah, but even
figure it out.
I'm like the quintessential AEW mark. I don't watch those shows.
Okay, but if they gave you a reason to watch those shows, if they started to put matches on those shows that are worth watching, wouldn't you watch?
I will say that I did like AEW putting the dark results along the bottom of the screen this week. I thought that's a nice touch.
They've been doing that for a while.
You beat me to it, motherfucker.
But that being said, I don't watch any other AEW shows because even when I see those results, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the Joey Janela Kenny Omega match, like just because I heard it was crazy. But I would watch those. So, like, and I do occasionally, I say I don't, but if I have free time during the week, I'll throw those on. But it's not must-see TV for me because keeping up with New Japan and watching NXT and AEW, the weekly shows, that's like more than enough for me currently in my life. There's a ton of wrestling that I would love to watch, and AEW is part of that. So is Impact, so is Stardom, but I just don't have the time. And when you're looking at must-see television, like you use your national television as the stuff that you have to see. So
I have to say this, and I'm as at fault here as either of you guys, and probably more so. We spend way too much time on this podcast talking about fucking Sting. We spend so much time talking about Sting when really we should be talking about Darby Allin versus Jungle Boy, which as Zach said, they're gonna have they should have a long rivalry. They're both. I mean, Darby Allin's what, like 31? Jungle Boy's what?
He's that old?
24.
Darby Allin's that old? I'm tripping off that.
I think he's more like he might be, but I think he's more like 28.
Yeah, I'm sitting there saying.
I'll look it up. Either way, they're both really young guys.
And I agree with you guys that as long as they stay under the AEW flag, Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, MJF are going to be a part of.
The truth is, I don't know what the AEW flag's going to look like in 3 years.
Nobody does.
It might be AEW, TNA,
nobody does.
NJPW all together.
Nobody does. Okay,
I think that'll be kind of.
I think that's kind of must-see TV, especially if
he's 28. He's 28. Darby Allin's 28.
Okay, that sounds a little more real.
Oh, I called it.
I think that's kind of
you didn't fucking know. Like, you didn't have his fucking birthday programmed in your phone. Like, you probably tweeted him, didn't you?
You can say yeah.
HBD Darby Allin.
You can say yeah. It's okay. I'll just say this: when knock on wood, the world gets back to normal, I think a lot of this is going to start to take care of itself. Okay, a lot of these angles, storylines, whatever you want to call it, I think have been put on hold because they want to do it in front of fans and get the biggest reaction possible.
I think most people. I think they've probably given up on that a long time ago. I mean, they've given us some pretty fucking big matches, man.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying that there's a couple more. I'm so sure surprises up the sleeve that we don't know about and haven't even thought about that they're kind of waiting on to make sure that they can get this done right.
Is Jungle Boy too small in stature to ever win the AEW heavyweight belt?
It's not a heavyweight belt, so no. It's just a world championship.
Okay. See, semantics. I'm going to say no, just because I think that I've always said that Jungle Boy has had the in-ring talent. I just worry about right now the gimmick is not necessarily a world championship gimmick.
That's why JR does the Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Right. He's called Jungle Boy.
Right.
When he's 35 years, just like the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks, I think, can ease into it because it could be ironic. But for Jungle Boy, it's not going to be ironic. Like
Jungle Boy's a terrible name.
It's a terrible. It is what it is now. Rocky Maivia was a terrible name, and then he transformed into The Rock.
That was a first name and a last name. Jungle Boy's just a fucking shit name.
Billy Gunn, okay.
Like I listened to an interview with Jungle Boy. He was literally given it to him by an independent promoter, and he's like, "What's your gimmick?" And he's like, "I don't have a gimmick." And he's like, "Oh, you got all that hair. You look like Tarzan." He's like, "Give me Jungle Boy." Just come out like a. And he was like doing like the jungle shit, and he just rolled with it. Like it just worked.
I mean, Jungle Jack Perry sounds cool.
And I think ultimately Jack Perry is where we're going to get to. But
the other thing I want to ask: do you think he's so small because his dad Luke Perry smoked while he was in the womb?
God damn, you ain't shit.
All right, let's get to the 3 count.
I mean, fuck.
1, 2, 3.
All right, the 3 count is main event WWE stuff, which we don't cover a lot on here. But Roman Reigns came out to cut his post-WrestleMania promo with his buddy Paul Heyman, and Cesaro came out to interrupt him.
Yeah, remember when I said they were setting up Cesaro for Roman Reigns?
Yeah, and then so Cesaro comes out, and at the end, Cesaro's fighting Jey Uso. Cesaro beats Jey Uso. Seth Rollins comes in and causes the DQ.
Right.
So Cesaro wins via DQ. And so there's still a month until Backlash, so there's still time for Cesaro to run back through Seth Rollins on his way to Roman Reigns, but there's a pretty good chance that we're getting Cesaro versus Roman Reigns. What do you think about that, Jason?
I don't think we get it right away. I think we run back Cesaro Seth 2 at Backlash. Well, I'm sorry, let's do it right. WrestleMania Backlash. And then I think we get Cesaro versus Roman Reigns at a later point. I'm sure that he'll have to jump through the Jey Uso hoop one more time, beat him clean. But I think, like I said last week, I think Roman is going to have an Okada kind of run, but I don't think you need to start feeding him guys right away. Spread it out a little bit. In this scenario, Cesaro and Roman Reigns is going to happen. Don't rush it. Build it up the right way, the way they've been doing it. This is the one angle in WWE that I'm kind of confident that they will do the right way. The way I would do it.
You just jinxed it.
Yeah, I probably did. I would do Seth versus Cesaro first, and then have him win, and then lead him to Roman Reigns.
What do you think, Zach?
I don't mind Cesaro being quote-unquote fed to Roman Reigns, because being quote-unquote fed to Roman Reigns is not an indictment. I don't think anybody's beating Roman Reigns in the future, but I think Cesaro having a standout match with Roman Reigns does better for his character than anything else he could do. So I'm down with it.
Roman Reigns has been having a string of spectacular matches, and besides Daniel Bryan, I don't think that he's faced a better worker than Cesaro. If they let Cesaro and Roman Reigns have 21, 22 minutes like they did with Jey Uso,
they will.
Then I'm excited for this prospect.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Cesaro. I don't think that he's going to take the belt from Roman Reigns. Of course not. But I do like that Cesaro is there in the conversation, because Cesaro
Honestly, I don't. Like I said, I don't think we have seen who is going to take the title from Roman Reigns on.
You don't think he's been born yet?
No, on this current roster as it stands.
He was born. It was a cesarean section.
This motherfucker here. The guy that's beating Roman Reigns isn't on the roster yet. That's my thought.
That's one of those jokes that I don't even laugh at. I just kind of like put my head down. I'm like, yeah, that's a good joke. That's a pro joke.
Right. I say I would have never thought about that.
I remember the comedian Stephen Wright. You guys know who Stephen Wright is?
Yes, sir.
Where he said,
one joke master, pre-Hitchhikberg, pre-Anthony Jeselnik.
He said, I was born cesarean section. He goes, nobody can tell by looking at me, but they can always tell because whenever I leave a party, I go out through the window.
That's great.
Apollo Crews has Babatunde, who is now named Commander Aziz.
Okay, I was going to say Captain Aziz, but yeah, same thing.
Commander Aziz. That's a really bad name off of a really bad gimmick that they're doing really well.
I don't think they're doing it really well. I mean, ultimately, I guess if you want to put guys in the list of who you can feed to Roman Reigns, I think Big E is on that list. Obviously on the same show, just lost the Intercontinental Championship to Apollo and a rematch, and I would assume that would happen fairly quickly. See WrestleMania Backlash, I would assume that Apollo would retain that title. So now at that point, what does Big E do? Big E is one of those guys where you could put against Roman Reigns, across from Roman Reigns, and legitimately look at it and be like, yeah, I can see Big E doing it. In this scenario, unfortunately, like we said, I just don't see Big E doing it at this point. If this was a year from now, maybe so. The Big E Roman Reigns match could be a really good SummerSlam match if you built it up right. But like I said, for me, Big E is going to be one of those guys that is going to get his rematch for the IC title, lose it, and then from there, if Cesaro's not first against Roman Reigns, Big E is probably on that list.
Why are you talking about Big E? I was talking about Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz.
Because Big E lost the title to Apollo.
Let me see the weed.
So it's the connection.
I was talking about Commander Aziz, though.
Okay, I'm not talking about Commander Aziz. That to me is just a worthless reason to talk. I mean, come on. If you want me to talk about some bullshit,
worthless reason to talk. You mean like a wrestling podcast?
No, that's not a worthless reason to talk.
What do you think, Zach?
Those are rare.
What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't have high hopes for Commander Aziz or Babatunde. It's just Vince being like, we need more big guys. Whenever business is down, Vince is all about the big guys. I mean, we saw it with, why do you think T-Bar and Mace have a place outside of every other person on whatever the Retribution faction, you know? Ali is more talented than all of them put together, but those guys have a place because they're big.
Who has a higher ceiling, Commander Aziz or Omos?
I'm going Omos. I mean, they put the title on him. I mean, we haven't seen him since, but I mean,
I think
I'm going Omos too, just because he has a more demanding look.
I think Omos might have been the COVID situation that we were talking about on Monday. I know that they had to redo a bunch of stuff on Monday because of COVID situations. As your host of your weekly wrestling podcast, I decided not to look that up.
Jesus Christ!
I mean, I can look it up right now. Do you want me to look it up right now?
No. I was about to say, don't overexert yourself.
Thank you.
I got a baby on the way.
I work.
It doesn't matter because did they present a show that was worth watching? No. There's been plenty of other shows that have been threatened by COVID that have presented worthwhile wrestling.
I mean, that's 100% true. They have the depth of talent on Raw that they don't use at all is ridiculous. They have Humberto Carrillo there every single week.
Who they throw him out there to get whooped out?
He got whooped by. Hold on, I have it written down. It was an open challenge. Oh, Sheamus.
Okay. I'll say this much. Humberto looks jacked. You know what I'm saying? It looks like he's been in that in catering.
He hasn't been enjoying catering.
He's gone to catering and then just took that shit into the performance center.
You guys ever had Mexican? Runs right through you.
So you ain't shit.
I have heard a lot of stories about WWE catering, and I just got to say, I just really want to eat it.
Yeah, me too.
I was about to say, Tender should know that shit. I was about to say, we could call him up right now and be like,
it's probably Tender that told those stories. That's why we don't use his real name.
Avoid it at all costs.
He talked all that shit about fucking catering. Bianca Belair comes out and cuts a great babyface promo. Like, what a pure white meat babyface that she is. It's just so easy to root for. She's great. She's great. That's a great follow-up promo.
Okay, see, y'all, well, at least you were running her down about crying in the ring. I mean, damn, it's a huge fucking moment.
Air. That was me and you having a private conversation.
No, we talked about this on air too. So don't sit there and try to weasel your way out of this. That adds to what she said on Friday night. It is a huge babyface moment from WrestleMania to SmackDown.
From the Royal Rumble to SmackDown.
Okay, even more so.
Yeah,
no,
even more so. To last week.
Okay, even more so. Where Bianca Belair, for the ups and downs with the booking, has now gotten to this point where she is the top babyface in WWE Women's Wrestling.
Incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, I never thought I would see it, honestly.
Pat McAfee made his debut as the color guy on SmackDown. I didn't watch all of SmackDown because I rarely watch all of SmackDown, even if I watch any of SmackDown.
Two Beer, did you watch SmackDown?
No.
But hey, Two Beer, you can imagine how good Pat McAfee was, right?
I can. I totally can because
that's how good he was.
No, he was good. All bullshit aside.
So here's the thing that I'm worried about. So I imagine he was good in the same way that Samoa Joe was always good. And Samoa Joe kind of got less good as he went on because he got into the WWE speak. I just hope that they don't turn Pat McAfee into that.
McAfee seems to me like if they really cut him loose and you take away the racism, he could be like Bobby Heenan.
Oof. I would love that.
Not as good as Bobby Heenan.
No, I would love that.
But he's definitely got like that heel.
He's the heel commentator.
He's got that heel energy. Man.
Yeah.
Like he could be like, it almost makes sense to take him away from actual wrestling and put him into a situation like this because
we knew he can talk. Okay.
Man,
we knew he can talk.
He can talk.
Okay. We just had a problem with what's the play-by-play guy on Raw now? Ad Van Erk.
Ed Nunn.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, they hired this guy and he's brand new to wrestling, and he's he is what he is, but it's just weird. Like I just don't understand what they want.
Are there rumors about this? Like why they took Tom Phillips off the air and the Vic dude? Because the Vic dude's still on NXT, right?
Okay. The guy that's on Raw right now that does the play-by-play,
Adnan Virk.
Okay.
Like I said, an uncle named Adnan Virk.
Man, that's
first and last name.
God bless him. Like I said last week, apparently Vince didn't know who this guy was, and then hired him sight upon scene. And I guess to me, that's where my problem with this is that he doesn't know the product. I mean, that would be like me. That
might actually be better though than like how like college basketball commentators, like a play-by-play guy, like they'll do a different college every week. Like it doesn't matter; they're just pros. I think that maybe Michael Cole, Tom Phillips, and the other guy,
Vic Joseph.
Thank you. I couldn't remember his last name. Maybe they just like know the product a little too well. You know what I mean? Like, maybe
I think it's more they're programmed to do this bullshit commentating.
Right. So, like, knowing a little bit less might just have you call it more like a sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it doesn't sound...
Yeah, they really work for Mauro Ranallo.
Now, he quit, though, right? He quit.
Forced out. Yeah.
To a fucking point.
I'll just say this. It doesn't
Mauro
sound...
Ranallo is the best.
Okay. Him and Kevin Kelly, I think you can interchange them.
Oh, no.
No, you can't.
Ranallo's better. Ranallo's fucking hilarious.
No, Kevin Kelly's better, man.
Oh, no.
Kevin Kelly's...
For a one-game big match scenario,
totally disagree.
I will take Kevin Kelly. Ranallo is 1A, and there is no knock against Ranallo. That is my man.
I would say the exact opposite, but I would say the exact same thing. It's like, it's no knock against neither man, but Ranallo says shit like, that's funny as shit.
Okay, and that's...
Somebody call for an Uber.
Okay.
He has pop culture references.
Thank you.
Kelly is just
Kevin Kelly is meat and potatoes. This is what's up. Yeah, he'll go a little overboard with the Destino calls or whatever the case may be. I'll give you that.
That's the only part I hate about him.
I'll give you that. He does that with a lot of other things too, but neither here nor there. You know, Yano go blow somebody. You know, my monitor went out. Okay, he has his quirks too, but I'm not going to sit up here and say that Ranallo is better because his pop culture references I get very quickly. Either or can do a great match, a match of the year candidate. You can put either or in that. I think they would do just as good with one or the other being play-by-play.
Only black guy I've ever had in my garage, and he hates Stu Scott.
Wait a minute. Who hates Stu Scott?
That's what Stu Scott does. It's all just pop culture references, like over and over, and like weird
why
metaphors.
In the wide world of sports do you would think I would hate Stu Scott?
Because you're talking about Mauro Ranallo like it's just pop culture references, but Stu Scott was the exact same way.
Stop.
Oh,
stop!
God damn! I didn't know I was going to hit Jason this deep.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say
talk through it.
No, I'm a little disappointed. I mean, Stuart Scott is like arguably one of the greatest ESPN commentators. Period. B,
he's
black.
In the top 20.
Are you out? Top 20? Oh my God! Really? I mean, do you want to see my head explode right now?
No.
Top 20.
Let's bring it back to wrestling.
Okay.
Anyway, Pat McAfee was very
good. Yeah, I was
in his role the other
way
night.
better than I anticipated, and I would not be surprised when Adam Cole comes up. He goes to SmackDown, and that's where you see Pat McAfee and Adam Cole one more again.
So we don't have to talk about Raw forever. Some interesting things. I mean, the first thing was McIntyre MVP and Retribution. Eventually, at the end of the night, McIntyre ripped Retribution's masks off.
Well, him and Braun ripped them off, but whatever.
To expose Dijakovic and Dio Madden. What do you think about that, Zach? Ripping the mask
Color
off.
me shocked.
Just acknowledge it. That's all I'm asking. You know, Theo Madden was on the commentary team. He took the fucking bullet so that Jerry Lawler can still live to this day because Brock was getting ready to fucking put an F5 on his ass. Can we not acknowledge that? Djokovic, okay.
Zach.
Friend of me of the show, we can pass on that.
Zach, do you have any idea what he's talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about.
On a Monday night?
That's whenever...
Go ahead.
That's whenever Dio Madden stopped.
Okay. On a Monday Night Raw, there was... Dio Madden was on part of that Monday Night Raw team. And then for whatever reason, Brock Lesnar comes out and Jerry Lawler, Madden, and Michael Cole was on part of this announced team. Instead, Brock wanted to do F5 Lawler for whatever reason, and Dio Madden took the bullet. And then you didn't see him for a while. And then he comes back as Retribution. And then you unmask him on Monday Night Raw. If he's a commentator on Monday Night Raw,
Oh, how'd they not know who he was? Oh, dude, that's kayfabe, man.
Man, fuck that.
Remember when Kane took his mask off and all he had was just like charcoal on his face? And then like a couple weeks later it was like less charcoal. And then like 4 weeks later it was just Kane without a mask and nobody cared about
You'd be surprised what a shower does. Okay.
All right.
That's
then
not
then it turned in he's a Republican. He's a bigger heel than you could ever imagine.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I follow him on Twitter. He was, I mean, at least he was, listen, all I'll say for the guy, he was very anti-QAnon. He was like, these people are stupid.
Wow.
Look at these dumb motherfuckers. Okay, so there's nothing real.
Move along before I get myself in trouble.
Randy Orton lost to Matt Riddle. Clean.
That's surprising.
Yeah, and the Viking Raiders are back. What do you want to talk about more, Jason?
I'll do both really quick. Orton losing to Matt Riddle. It is what it is. We'll see this run back here in a little bit. I might say that the tiebreakers at WrestleMania Backlash, Viking Raiders, whatever. I mean, nobody cares about.
You almost sound like Bill Belichick talking about this shit. Have an opinion, man. It is what it is.
For me, in that scenario, it kind of is what it is. It's nothing that I personally want to see.
They played really good today. The Dolphins played really good today.
No, I think we know I have an opinion about most things, okay? In this scenario, I don't give a two shits about Matt Riddle. I don't give a two shits about the Viking Raiders at this point. Orton is...
Okay. You want to really go off on something?
Hanging out with Alexa Bliss. That's the shit you want to talk about. That's that bullshit.
I'm going to let Zach go first here.
Please.
Zach, Alexa Bliss showed up without Bray Wyatt this week. And it was all...
She's still dressed up like a little girl.
Of course.
Yeah, dressed up like a little girl, blood pouring and shit.
Okay, I'm still into it.
God damn, dude. See?
I'm just joking. No, it's the exact opposite. I'm really not. Like, if they're going to introduce magic into, like, the Raw Women's title where, like, you're going to have magic acts against Rhea Ripley, fuck that.
No, it basically sounds like she's going to come back to somewhat of an active role.
Who?
Alexa Bliss.
No, I know. It's Alexa Bliss. She's not now split off from Bray Wyatt. She's her own supernatural thing.
Whatever, motherfucker. Okay.
I'm serious.
Look, I'm not saying that you're not serious.
I can't believe they're doing it.
What else you gonna do? You can't have them. You can't have Bray Wyatt versus Alexa Bliss.
I'm saying they should have cut the cord on this a long time ago.
No, they shouldn't have gone down this road. They should have just kept them together.
When was
have them wreak havoc on the women's and men's division, respectively.
Zach Pullman, when was that match between Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins where Seth Rollins gave Bray Wyatt like 17 curb stomps?
It was Hell in a Cell in October 2020.
Of 2019.
Yeah, it was 19.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was 19.
That's how long the season
that was my point. That was my point. They've been writing this shit out 16 months too long. 16 months they've been writing that shit out since. It was cool for like 2 months. He took 17 curb stomps and still won, and then it was downhill ever since.
And then he lost to one RKO at WrestleMania.
Lost to Goldberg. Lost to Roman Reigns.
Lost to Goldberg and disappeared.
Okay, so
we thought he was coming back. It's like Vince is paying some eternal payback to one of his ancestors. Like he's like, I'm gonna build this kid up and then take him down, then take him down, take him down. It's pathetic.
Honestly, and I think Two Beer kind of said this, or I might have read it, whatever the case may be. At a certain point, you're going to have to figure out if let's just say he ran roughshod over the roster. He wins the title. Who is going to be that guy? What's the scenario of taking the title off of Bray Wyatt at this point?
Nothing.
It would just be something that would have to be so out of left field that it would be hard to really book it. Granted, they really screwed the pooch on this route, but on the flip side, if you went the Roman Reigns route, the way that I see that Roman Reigns is going, it'd have been really hard to figure out who's going to take Bray Wyatt out or the Fiend, and more so in this scenario, who's going to take the Fiend out if he can bounce in and out of dimensions and all this other bullshit. So, whatever.
All right, guys. I think we've squeezed enough out of the main roster of WWE as we could. That's going to do it for our 3 counts.
1, 2, 3.
And guess what, guys? We had nothing to talk about. And we still filled up 2 hours. So that's going to do it for our odds and ends.
This is banned from Ringside.
Hey, we got some birthdays this week. Ezekiel Jackson, part of the core.
Wow.
With current NXT commentator Wade Barrett. He's 43. Chuck Taylor is 35. Tony Atlas. Who?
Wait. Go back. Ezekiel Jackson is 43 years old.
Yeah, how old do you think he was?
Older than me, Jesus.
He's just big.
God, I'm old. Go ahead.
I bet that dude could destroy a Ryan Steakhouse. I bet you go into a Ryan Steakhouse, like they take a loss.
I'll take the left side, please.
They take a loss on him.
What do you want? The number 2? No, I want the left side.
Chuck Taylor's 35. Tony Atlas, alive.
R.I.P. No, I think he's R.I.P.
77. Cena, 44.
Fast and Furious?
Dijakovic, friend of me of the show. 34. Britt Baker's 30. Moose is 37.
Where's Moose been at?
Kane is 54. Kane, Dijak, and Cena all have the same birthday. They're all 10 years apart.
Huh. I'll be damn.
I know. What are the odds? Vladimir Kozlov is only 42.
Dude, shut. No.
He's my age.
No.
He's a little bit older than me.
No, he is not 42.
Alex Riley is 40.
My God.
Drew Gulak is 34. He's got the same birthday as those guys, too. Also 10 years apart, but nobody gives a fuck about him because he's Drew Gulak.
Dude, I'm going to go in the street right now and just lay there.
Hey, everybody.
I'll see you next week.
We know there's tons of podcasts to listen to, so we appreciate you guys listening to our podcast. For Murray the Murray Man Murray.
Check.
For Lucha Chris.
Check.
For Vice.
Check.
For Tinder Hall.
Check.
For F&B Eatery.
Check.
For Bill's Beard Company.
Check.
For Two Beers, Zach Pullman.
You lucky bastard.
For my man, Jason
barbecue.
Cornelius Bell.
Check.
I am Bill Vagey, and
Check.
everybody never, ever forget. Oh, I did this too quick. I was going to time it well. Move the heels! Move!